Everybody, and welcome to Bama Insider, BamaInsider.com, and our YouTube channel for tonight's Heisman Watch Party. Alabama with 2 of the final 4. They had 3 of the final 5 top-ranked contestants for this big-time award. DeVonta Smith, of course, is the odds-on favorite. He's a receiver at Alabama. Quarterback Mack Jones, second. You got Kyle Trask and Trevor Lawrence. Kyle Trask from Florida. Trevor Lawrence probably third. And what we expect, at least the odds in Vegas, Kyle Trask fourth. And then Najee Harris is not going to be one of the winners tonight, but he was fifth in the standings when they released it. And so we're going to talk about that and a lot more. And throughout the night, we'll just keep an eye on it. And eventually they'll announce a Heisman winner. And for Alabama, they're hoping to have their 3rd Heisman Trophy winner in program history. All of those have come since Nick Saban has been the head coach. It was Mark Ingram that did it first in 2009. Then Derrick Henry, a couple of running backs for Alabama. And this year, it looks like Alabama will have either a receiver or a quarterback if they're right out in Vegas. Let me introduce the crew to you. First, Tony Tsoukalis is our beat writer for Bama Insider, the Alabama rival site. Trey Yannity is our on-house intern and future rising star. And Kyle Henderson is the managing editor of this Alabama rival site, Bama Insider. I'm Mick Gillespie. Great to have all of you guys with us tonight. We're going to talk about the Heisman race, but first let's get into this. Alabama's still playing, and of the 4 finalists, 2 of them have one more game left, and of course that would be Smitty and Mack. And so that's a different schedule for Alabama. They're ready to play Ohio State on Monday, or is this game going to take place? Kyle, I'll bring you in first. There's definitely some smoke coming out of Ohio State that possibly COVID issues, or at least that's what we're being told, could affect this game somewhat. Now, they've dealt with this, including having some players out for their game against Clemson. And the game has not been changed yet, but there are some rumors that that's a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of information that kind of started out yesterday. I've been tweeting kind of like the timeline of these events that have been taking place. And, all systems seem like they're going to go for January 11th between Alabama and Ohio State. And that's kind of the latest information that even Alabama AD Greg Byrne tweeted out. Here's kind of the timeline of everything that's kind of taken place over the last, 24 hours or whatever you want to call it. So it started at the top yesterday. Sources were saying that Ohio State is dealing with COVID, and it kind of transpired from there. And then in the afternoon, there was more reports that the game could be pushed back. And then Pete Thamel of Yahoo Sports said that the game is looking to be played as scheduled on January 11th. And then we continue to see more of that, even from ESPN College Football. And then Greg Byrne at 5:22 p.m. today said that Ohio State and Alabama working together to make sure that that game happens on January 11th. Now, there's still quite a bit of time before the championship game. Clearly, there's a lot of things that could take place. The guys still have to test. But, it looks like from right now where we are, and we'll continue to update that timeline, it does look like we are good to go for January 11th. And, it's always moving. It's always fluid. But that's kind of the latest. And we'll continue to have that timeline updated for you right here at Bama Insider.
Yeah, and that's been the case this entire year. Alabama's made it through the entire season thus far without any COVID issues. Some of the other teams on the schedule have had to deal with that, but all the games have been played. Tony Tsoukalis, you cover Alabama on a day-to-day basis. To me, this would hurt Alabama, and I say this because I don't think that Steve Sarkisian, who's now Texas's head coach and is Alabama's offensive coordinator, at least until that game's over, would stick around for another week. Are you hearing anything?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think if you looked at it that way, that would be a distraction. I think he might still stick around, but you're testing that concentration if you make him stay for another week. I think 1 week, we talked about this on Monday Night Quarterback. 1 week, I think you can kind of get through that. There's, you just kind of, you're on the finishing touches of a championship season. Adding that extra week, you start cutting into more recruiting time, and more time to get his staff together. I think that does create a little bit more of a distraction. That's the biggest thing. I don't really buy into this, Ohio State conspiracy theory, getting Justin Fields more time, or, because at the same time, I think when you look at injuries, Jalen Waddle would be in a better shape to play if he had an extra week. So I don't buy into that. But if this game were to get pushed back, I think the biggest thing from an Alabama perspective would be Sarkisian, and could he keep that concentration up, for another week? Because that's a big ask at the moment.
Trey, I kind of differ. I don't say that Ohio State wouldn't be above not wanting to play this game if Fields has some sort of an injury. He took a really big hit in that game against Clemson and could be banged up. Your thoughts on this?
Yeah, this is news that is kind of typical to what we've experienced in 2020 with college football. Everything is happening, day by day, and I think this game will be played on time. I think they're going to do everything it takes to. But if you're an Alabama fan, I could see where you would be a little bit upset with this information. Justin Fields obviously took a big hit on Friday, and he needs some time to recover from that. I don't know if this is an elaborate plan by Ohio State to try to get him more time to be well, but if it is, and you look at Alabama's side, that gives Jalen Watt a little bit more time to get fully healthy as well. But either way, this is not good for the game if it's delayed. Everybody's ready. We just had the playoff this last week. Everybody's gearing up for the national title. We've been able to keep things pretty much on schedule this season for as weird and as wacky as everything's been. Everything's kind of worked out, with the timing pretty well. So this moving back would, mess that all up. And, I think everybody's ready for this season to kind of be behind us to an extent. This has been a really different season, and it's, taken great effort from a lot of people just to get to this point. So 60 minutes to go in the entire college football season. I think they're going to do everything it takes to get this game played on Monday. But, it might help both teams and hurt both teams if they don't.
Kyle, you think about this. Jalen Waddle is probably going to play. I mean, unless he has a setback. He hasn't played since Tennessee, and Alabama's won every single game. Ohio State hasn't had to play without Justin Fields, and I don't know that they would be even close to the same team without Justin Fields. Now, with that said, they did beat Alabama with a third-string quarterback in the Sugar Bowl back in 2014, but a very different Alabama team. Who does it affect more if they're playing without a particular player? Just, for the sake of this show, if Alabama didn't have Waddle or if Ohio State didn't have Fields?
I mean, that's easy. I mean, that was a softball. I think, Ohio State without Justin Fields is, I'm not sure, how many of those 6 games they would have won this season or whatever, how many games they played. I think for Alabama, I mean, it's added arsenal to an already loaded offense. I mean, here was the update from Nick Saban today regarding Jalen Waddle. He's been running, but we need to see him at practice. He was supposedly at practice today. We didn't see any practice footage. I just uploaded that right here to BamaInsider, and that's what Nick Saban told ESPN. So I guess we'll just have to track to see what potentially happens. But if the game is pushed back, you're giving Justin Fields more time to heal up along with Jalen Waddle. And I think if you have Jalen Waddle out there with Devonte Smith and both of those guys are healthy, add in Najee Harris, who should be seated at this table with these guys tonight. It's a travesty that he's not. 27 total touchdowns, everything that he's done. I mean, this is the best offense in America. And I know you're losing Landon Dickerson at the center position, but the guys all together, cohesiveness is still there. And I think it would be a huge blow not to have Justin Fields. So if there is, any reason to postpone it in your Ohio State, you definitely do that. But, I think from, hearing from the ADs today, it looks like everything's going to go down on January 11th.
Great to have you with us on the Bama Insider YouTube channel. Give us a thumbs up as you watch tonight. Also, subscribe to our channel. We appreciate all of you guys being here as we keep an eye on ESPN and watch to see who the Heisman winner is going to be for this season. And again, 2 Alabama players in there. But the conversation is about the national championship game against Ohio State. Justin Fields was one of the contenders at the beginning of the season to win this award, and certainly against Clemson. He looked like a guy who could have won the award. He was a finalist last year. And what really hurt him is the fact that the Big Ten canceled the football season. Then they bounced back. He was the guy that led the charge to play football. So I think we all have a lot of respect for that. We wanted to see the Big Ten, and we did see the Big Ten. So now Justin Fields is in the national championship game. But, Kyle, he's not in this group right now of 4 finalists.
No, he's not. And, as we start to talk about the Heisman Trophy finalists right now, I mean, we talked about it last night on, Bama Insider on Monday Night Quarterback. It's just, it's a great group that we have right here. I feel that Justin Fields should have been in there. Like I said last night, I mean, it's kind of sad that the award isn't given at the end of the season because I think players step up in big time games like Justin Fields did. By the way, I love the swag right here of Devonte Smith. I mean, he's here and he's got like this. Like, how would you describe this, Tony? Help me. Are you watching?
It's a velvet suit, and I just texted with Vincent Sanders, who is Devontae's kind of his barber, also kind of his mentor. And I asked him, because Vincent Sanders picks out all his suits. So if you're looking at Devonte Smith tonight, this suit was picked out by Vincent Sanders, and he actually picks out all of Devontae's suits. He would like me to say that because he doesn't get enough credit for that. Devontae's always looking fly, and a lot of that has to do with Vincent Sanders. So if you like this look, it's all on him.
When you show up anywhere in velvet,
right?
I mean, that's a alpha move right there.
Trey, is that something that you go to class with at campus in Alabama?
I rock the velvet all the time. The velvet suit's one of my go-tos, of course. No, I can't rock it like Devontae, though. He looks fly. He's got the bow tie going tonight. Looking slick. Mack Jones, too. Looking professional. The standard tie. Everybody's looking great tonight. So weird to see this virtually, though. I feel so bad for these athletes. They can't be in New York right now.
Yeah, well, at least we're having a ceremony, though. I mean, we kind of wondered if there was going to be a football season, and I remember Tony at the beginning of this season in August wondering if we were even going to play football. And, obviously it was a very different year for Alabama. They played an entire season against the SEC until they took on Notre Dame in the college football playoff and that first round win. So here we are. We got through the season.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things when you look back at the beginning of the season that, we probably didn't see. I know, I might not necessarily be one of them, but I think when you look back at the beginning of the season, I don't think a lot of people saw Mack Jones being here or really Devonte Smith. So the fact that we got a full season, played out, and then also, Alabama's got 2 Heisman finalists for the first time ever. I think that's, what a season it's been. And it's really defied some odds. And it really just shows, when people really want something, they can make it happen. And we had a lot of really smart people and a lot of, dedicated people, in every aspect making this happen. And really kudos to them because, man, we needed this. I couldn't have gone a season without college football. It's just this, look, we're here, we're doing this show. This is what we do, and it would be really tough to go a season without it. So we're 1 game away, and I'm excited about closing this one out.
And we'll pretty soon know who the Heisman Trophy winner is for the 2020 season. 2 Alabama players, the 2 odds-on favorites, and you wonder, and we'll talk about this more in a little bit, if it hurts that there are 2 Alabama players at 1 and 2 as far as the Vegas odds are concerned. But if Waddle doesn't get hurt, Trey Smitty isn't going to be in this conversation. And when you go back to last year, maybe the greatest wide receiver core ever assembled in college football history with Ruggs and Judy, both first-round picks, Waddle. And then I always kind of thought Smitty, even though he caught the game-winning pass in that championship game to stun Georgia, was maybe the 3rd best of the group. But he's going to go down as the best ever at Alabama, so I guess that makes him the best of the group.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's undeniable. This kid's story is just so great. From that catch on 2nd and 26 his freshman year, rising up, and he's just been the underrated guy his entire time at Alabama. I mean, when you have Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs, and then Jalen Waddle comes onto the scene, it's easy to fit into that role of just kind of, flying under the radar and being the underrated receiver on the team. But if you look at the numbers, last season he led the team in receptions and receiving yards. This season, he's obviously leads the country in all kinds of stats and has had one of the best, if not the best season a wide receiver has ever had in this game. But just to look back on his story, to look back on this season alone and the way he's made a name for himself, it is unbelievable. And to think about the kind of guy that he is, he's a real Mike Trout, a guy that doesn't, I'm not going to say he's quiet, but he's not in your face. He's not cocky. He's not going to, show off. And, you're still watching him every single play and just jaw drop. So, if he doesn't win the Heisman tonight, I think everybody, the country, Clemson fans, Ohio State fans, Florida fans who have 2 players in the running for this thing, 1 player now is a finalist, they're all going to be upset because there is one guy that deserved the Heisman Trophy this year. it's Devonte Smith for a whole melody of reasons. But, just for the guy that he is too is a great one. And, hopefully the country's made the right decision. We'll find out here in the next few minutes.
Kyle, you and I talked at the beginning of football, and we were talking about the campaign that, Najee was going to put together, that he was going to name this season the campaign, and almost like a book. And you said the guy that I think could win the Heisman is Jalen Waddle. He's the best player on this team. And when he went down against Tennessee, could you have ever foreseen that it would be Devonte Smith stepping up in this fashion?
Yeah, I mean, and I did say that. I mean, I think going into the season, who wouldn't have thought that Jalen Waddle would have been the guy? I mean, and no disrespect to any of the guys, Najee Harris or Devonte Smith, I just feel that Jalen Waddle has that exclamation point that every team wants to have. Now, Devonte Smith clearly stepped up, and he did it all year. So I'm not surprised that he stepped up. I mean, it would have been the same thing if in my opinion, if Devonte Smith would have went down, Jalen Waddle would have had this type of season. I think that these two guys are the type of guys that are going to be irreplaceable and really tough to move past. I mean, you look at, just like you said at the beginning of the show, you had Henry Ruggs and Jerry Jeudy, and then Devonte Smith and Jalen Waddle just right behind. That's how Alabama reloads. So big shoes to fulfill next year for John Mechie and whoever that X person is going to be. But I think going back to Devonte Smith and kind of like what Trey said, I mean, this season has been really unbelievable for this guy to come back, because he could have went to the NFL. I mean, he surely could have, but he comes back and he puts together this ridiculous season, 105 receptions, and the plays that he's made, right, from the one-handed grab against LSU. And I love the grab where he jumps up, he grabs it, and his pops is in the back. Did you see that? Like, someone pointed out that his dad was in the back. His dad was in the back, and he's like grabbing it. I mean, what a special moment. And by the way, I just saw on social media his dad, they're at a watch party in Amite, Louisiana, and his dad is just cool and collected, just like Smitty. He's just like, so
yeah.
It comes from Pops. And I think he's had a great season. And to credit to Mack Jones as well. I mean, 4,000 yards in the season, the progression that he's had overall. And as soon as the Heisman is announced, fam, we'll bring that to you right here on Bama Insider. This is the watch party. We're celebrating the college football season. We're celebrating the Heisman Trophy. We're celebrating awards every single day with you right here on Bama Insider.
Yeah, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel. It's free as you hang out. We also appreciate the super chat. So if you feel so compelled, shoot one our way. We really appreciate that as well. But thanks for being here tonight. As we expected, Alabama's going to win a Heisman Trophy for the third time in program history, and the third one since 2009. And we're keeping an eye on that. At the beginning of the season, I was a little disappointed that Talia Tungavailoa had transferred to Maryland. I was kind of looking forward to seeing him. I watched him in high school play, at Thompson. He was a tremendous player, and I was excited when he committed to Alabama, and then he took off. And I guess he saw the writing on the wall with Mack Jones. Watching last year, I saw some good and some bad and some ugly with Mack. I wasn't convinced until the season started. And I'm so convinced now that if I had a first place vote, as I stated publicly on Tony's column, you can read that at BamaInsider.com, that I thought that if I had a vote, he'd be first and Smitty would be a close second. Tony, at the beginning of the season, you were kind of on the other end of this. You were the Mack Jones guy, and somewhere along the line, Smitty convinced you that if you had a vote, you'd probably vote for him and Mack second. But still, you believed in this guy from the very beginning, and he proved you right.
Yeah, and it's so almost like circumstantial, that it didn't go to Mack Jones, because here's what I think: if Jalen Waddle doesn't get hurt, I think Mack Jones probably has the same numbers that he has now. But when you look at it, I think that he probably throws some more of those passes, and it splits it up a little bit more between, Devonte and then Jalen. And so I think at that point, maybe you're looking at the stats and the way that they break out, it will go to Mack Jones. And I think he would be the guy, probably the slam dunk guy in this Heisman. But the way it happened and the way Devonte Smith stepped up, for the offense after Jalen Waddle went down, you just have to give it to him. And he's really, what more can you do? But back to Mack Jones. I mean, the guy's been crazy. He's proved doubters wrong all season. I mean, I don't think he has many doubters anymore, because every single game he comes through. His last two games against, tough competition, he has 9 touchdowns, and just really, what more can you ask from the guy? He's composed. He moves well in the pocket. Has a great deep ball, great touch on that deep ball, and everything you want in a quarterback. And I wasn't surprised because I saw this against Michigan, and he's really he's taking it up a notch. But we saw this a little bit late last year. Second half of that Auburn game, Michigan game. We saw what he could do, and he did it. And I'm glad because I kind of stumped for him in the offseason, and he proved me right. So kudos to him for doing that, and kudos to him for the season he's had.
Yeah, Trey, you're another guy who felt like Smitty was going to have the edge over Mack, and you probably had those guys 1 and 2, right?
Yeah, I mean, to talk back to the beginning of the season as well, I thought it was going to be Mack Jones all the way. Once we got to that Tennessee weekend and Waddle went down, it looked like it was going to be Mack's to lose. And, like Tony was saying, I think in a season where a Devonte Smith type deal doesn't happen, Mack wins this award hands down. And, I want to highlight something to keep your eye on tonight. Don't look at 1, 2, 3 as, maybe exactly how it would have gone, because I do think we talk about, vote splitting a little bit between these two. I do think it will hurt Mack Jones a little bit. I don't think it's going to hurt Devonte Smith. I think everybody that was deciding between the two went Devonte Smith. And that's why you'll see Mack Jones maybe finish 3rd or 4th instead of what he probably deserves with 2nd place in this one. But no, I mean, there's 3 guys on this Alabama roster that could have won the Heisman in any given year. This year's a loaded class. You don't see this every season. You look back to that Tua Kyler Murray year, and it was really just those two fighting for it. Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, same deal. Last year there was one guy, and it was clear cut. There wasn't even a conversation. So this season it's a little bit more spread out. You see guys like Kyle Pitts come onto the scene, tight ends, running backs, wide receivers. Probably gonna have a wide receiver win this thing. It's a different year, and I just keep an eye on it. Maybe if you see Mack fall to 3 or 4, that's not exactly what it should be. Because these two, I do believe, are the 1st and 2nd best players in the country, or had the 1st and 2nd best seasons this year.
Well, we've seen a lot of them. We watch all the games, so we've definitely had our look at Mack and Devontae. I mean, and really there hasn't been many downs for these guys. It's been mostly ups, and Alabama undefeated going into the national championship game. One guy that's not going to be in the national championship game that we thought would be there is Clemson's quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. So besides Devontae, he's the only receiver. The rest are quarterbacks, which is normal. Sometimes you'll have running backs. Occasionally you'll have a defender. But most of the time it's quarterbacks. It's kind of known as a quarterback's award. Trevor Lawrence, to me, at plus 900 is I don't even want to call him a dark horse, because I think he's got a legitimate chance to maybe squeeze in there. And it would be the fact that the guy's done nothing but win, only 2 losses in his career as a starter. He's won a national championship. He's hard to beat. In his time, 3 years, he's been in the college football playoff all 3 years. It should be interesting to see if there's enough support for him to be able to maybe stun everyone and win this thing, Kyle.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you look at the overall career of Trevor Lawrence, I mean, he's right there with any of these guys. I mean, the guy is, like you just said, he's only lost twice, and we all watched him take Alabama out to Santa Clara and kind of, put that beat down. It was 44-16 or whatever it is. So if you look at the career of Trevor Lawrence, I mean, certainly he's going to be there. Kyle Trask on the other side, I mean, it's just kind of about this season. So is the Heisman Trophy Award for the career, or is it for the season, right? Kyle Trask with 4,200 yards, 43 touchdowns, 8 interceptions on the year. And you kind of looked at how both of these guys' season ended. It doesn't really encapsulate what they did during the entire season, because when Trevor Lawrence was in and when he was playing at the top of his game, very tough to beat, did a good job beating Notre Dame kind of in the ACC championship game. And then we all saw what Kyle Trask did against Alabama in the SEC championship. I mean, he threw some fantastic passes, and his wide receivers were top notch. I mean, after Alabama, those guys are right there. Kyle Pitts, all those guys were really incredible. So I think if you look at career-wise, Trevor Lawrence absolutely there, and then just season-wise, Kyle Trask with the performance that he did is certainly there. But those guys, I think overall are second fiddle to what the 2 Alabama players have done this season, including Najee. I mean, I'm going to keep bringing up Najee Harris just because his season overall, think about it. He had 27 touchdowns. I mean, when you look at the seasons that Derrick Henry and Mark Ingram did, and we have a graphic of that as well, Najee Harris is right up there with those guys. He didn't get the carries that Derrick Henry did. And let me bring up that graphic real quick, because I want to just kind of show you the season that Najee had, right? So you can look at Henry on your left, the 2015 winner, he had 395 attempts. Najee didn't have that. 2,200 yards is ridiculous. I mean, he just ran for 2,000 yards just, the other night, right, in a season total. 28 total touchdowns, and then Mark Ingram on your left in 2009, 217 attempts, 1,600 yards, and 17 touchdowns. I mean, comparison, like Mark Ingram versus Najee Harris this year, I mean, Najee scored 27 touchdowns overall, right? Over 1,000 yards in an offense of this kind of a day and age where it's all about the spread. I mean, Najee Harris certainly left out. So it still makes me sad when I think about Najee Harris.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, and he's had a bunch of big moments, including the leap in the Notre Dame game and his SEC championship performance. Trey, you live in South Carolina, and you're a person that is there all the time. Give me your take. And before that, Tony, thanks for joining us tonight. I know you've got some other stuff to do, so we appreciate having you. But Trey, talk about South Carolina and what it means there with the career of Trevor Lawrence as we introduce Andrew Bone to the show. Bone, we'll talk to you in just a second, but good to see you, my friend.
What's up?
Yeah, I mean, there's really no understating what Trevor Lawrence has meant to this program and what these last few runs of quarterbacks have meant to Clemson. This was a program that struggled to make a bowl game just 10 years ago, and they lost that bowl game to South Florida. To think about the way that they've come along, it started with Taj Boyd and that elite group of receivers with DeAndre Hopkins and Sammy Watkins, all those guys. Then it was Deshaun Watson coming in, throwing darts to a new set of faces. And now it's Trevor Lawrence, who's had an unbelievable career. And there's no taking away from, what he's been able to do. I don't want to bring any disrespect when I say this, but he has not done enough to deserve the Heisman this year. And it's really no fault to him. He missed a couple games due to COVID-19. That's not his fault. He had a great season. He put up the numbers, but there was just so many other guys that had elite seasons and seasons that we look back on and think, how is that even possible in a year where they didn't even play 12 games? I think Trevor Lawrence in a regular year, maybe your winner is probably your winner. It probably comes down to him and Justin Fields. But, with the way things have gone, he just hasn't done enough to earn it this season. And that's unfortunate because the kid is unbelievably talented and is about to make a whole lot of money at the next level.
Great to have you with us on the Bama Insider YouTube channel as you watch tonight, and we're waiting just like you are to find out who the Heisman Trophy winner will be. Give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to swing over to BamaInsider.com for all the latest on Alabama and Ohio State for the national championship. We're the best in the business when it comes to recruiting and Alabama. We're the Alabama Rivals site, so swing over. Right now is an awesome time to become a member. And we appreciate all of you being here. Great to have Andrew Bone with us. And, Bone, you've been covering these guys since they were in high school, and maybe some of them even before that. Take us through the journey for Mack and Smitty getting to Alabama. And start with Mack first, and then we'll do Smitty second. But great to see you, Bone.
Yeah, Mack Jones's recruitment for, by Alabama was, it was pretty interesting because, as many people will remember, we've talked about this, several times about how, Jake Fromm was committed to Alabama early on in his recruitment. And then when Kirby Smart ended up leaving Alabama and becoming the head coach of Georgia, Jake Fromm ends up flipping his commitment to the Bulldogs. Alabama ends up, getting Tua a couple months later, but then they wanted to take two quarterbacks in their recruiting class, and in that 2017 class, which I think a lot of people are going to be talking about for a very long time, is maybe one of the best classes ever. And I think when Alabama got a commitment from Tua, they said, all right, we got this guy on board. We think he's an elite player, but we still want to get one more guy. They ended up having football camp, that June. Mack Jones was committed to Kentucky, gave an early commitment to Kentucky, and he ends up coming into camp doing really well. Alabama ends up giving him the green light to commit. And, a lot of people, would typically say, I'm going to stick with my commitment, or maybe I'm going to go elsewhere. I'm not going to go and be in a class with Tua, knowing that, also knowing that Jalen Hurts was a true freshman at Alabama at the time. So, you got to give a lot of respect to Mack for, flipping from Kentucky to Alabama, kind of waiting his turn, and never really I guess, leaning elsewhere, never really, wavered on that commitment. That was the word I was trying to think of the whole time. but he, obviously has been a great player at Alabama. And I'll tell you what, Mack has, he doesn't come across now, but I remember back when he was in high school and seeing him at the rivals camp and, spending some time with him, he had a little bit of cockiness to him. I mean, he always felt like he was going to be that starting quarterback at Alabama. Always, felt like his style fit Alabama a little bit more. Just felt like he would go in and, and make a big impact, maybe not right away, but felt like he would be, I don't know if he ever thought he was going to be a Heisman finalist, but he certainly felt like he was going to be the guy at Alabama. And I don't know if he wanted to label himself as a game manager, but he said, he felt like he was kind of like a Mack Jones, AJ McCarron type player, in high school, and felt like that was kind of his style, and that's what he was going to bring to Alabama. But it's been great to watch him this year. Even last year when he came in for Tua, everybody will always probably talk about the 2 interceptions that he had against Auburn, but he still played, despite that, he still had a really good showing, those last few games of the season, and obviously got the bowl win against Michigan, and now he is going to have a chance to potentially win a Heisman tonight, even though I think it's going to go to Devonte. But being a Heisman finalist, being being the quarterback on the SEC championship team, going into the national championship next Monday against Ohio State, you couldn't write a better script than this for Mack Jones.
Yeah, and one other part of this story too is his DUI. I know we don't talk about that a lot, but a lot of guys get kicked off the football team for a mistake like that. Nick Saban stuck by him, and it just seems like in his life and in his career, something happened, and he's just become more mature and a leader after making a mistake like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you look at a guy who, 21, however old he was when he got that DUI. I think he was 21. I don't think he was 20, but I think that all of us have made mistakes in our lives, and guess what? We weren't exiled because of it. And I think that Nick Saban does a great job of not kicking people out, not kicking people to the curb. Gives them another chance. Now there's always a certain number of chances that you're going to get, and some of those guys or some of the players that have come through Alabama exceeded those, and had to end up leaving Alabama. But I don't want to say a simple DUI, but a DUI, one mistake, not going to end the world for Mack Jones or really anybody on the Alabama team.
Or for anybody in general. I mean, raise your hand if you're perfect out there. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not condoning what he did in the past. I mean, I'm just saying that I'm kind of alluding to Andrew Bones' point there is like, life is about, chances and comeback stories and people who do, make mistakes and then come back. So I think it's a great story. I mean, everybody has gone through tough times. It's part of life. So to see that maturity, I think it's great. I think he's a great example for the program. He's a great ambassador. You look at the guy just got his master's degree as only a redshirt junior. So theoretically, the rest of Alabama, he could come back, 2 more seasons if he wanted to.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And he was this close, right, Bone, to going to Kentucky, but they fired the offensive coordinator, and that's kind of what changed his recruitment?
Yeah, I mean, it really did. I mean, like I said, he was I think, even before then, he was really looking at, going to Alabama. He got that offer in the spring, and, I always tell people, a lot of these springtime offers are all about, trying to get kids to come to camp, trying to get them to, there's a lot of kids out there that they get offers, they can commit, but there's a lot of other kids, they still need to come to camp. That didn't happen during the 2020 summer because of COVID, but yeah, I mean, I think with, Mack Jones, having the opportunity to play at the University of Alabama, it was too good for him to pass up.
Let's talk about the guy that he throws the football to. But first, I want to thank all of you that are watching right now on the Bama Insider YouTube channel. I want to ask you to do us a small favor. There's almost 1,300 of you that are here with us right now. We should have 1,300 thumbs up, right, Kyle? and 1,300 subscribers. So if this is the first time hanging out with us, we really appreciate it. We got a lot of shows that come on here, and we'd love for you to be a part of it. Whether you're an Alabama fan, you like college football, no matter what, you're welcome here, and we appreciate you hanging out with us tonight. Andrew Bone, you talk about Devonte Smith. He's been on the other end of all these Mack passes. And when Jalen Waddle and he were the number 1 and 2 receivers on this team, both guys were having good years. Waddle went down and Devonte Smith stepped up in a major way to the point where he could be the Heisman Trophy winner tonight. Take us through the recruiting that Alabama did to get him to leave Louisiana, not go to LSU, not go somewhere else, but to come play for the Crimson Tide. How would that happen when you're from Louisiana?
Well, I'll tell you what. Alabama has won some epic recruiting battles, against the Georgia Bulldogs, and it's kind of crazy how the dominoes kind of unfolded. Especially with last year, Carson Beck ends up flipping his commitment from Georgia to Alabama, which opened up the door for Bryce Young. And then, you go back to what we talked about earlier with Jake Fromm flipping and Alabama getting Tua and also Mack Jones. Well, then Mark Richt ends up getting an early commitment from DeVonta Smith. Back, I guess it was 2015, late 2015. And Mark Richt ends up leaving Georgia, and Kirby Smart gets hired. Well, DeVonta Smith reopens his recruitment. Was committed to Georgia, and a big part of his recruitment was Sam Petito, who was off the field coach. Worked in the athletic department, worked in the football complex. I think he was the director of player personnel at Georgia at the time. He had a really good connection from the same hometown as Smitty, and that was a big reason for Smitty's commitment to Georgia in the first place. Well, Coach Petito was not kept on Kirby Smart's staff. He ends up joining Alabama's coaching staff. Well, DeVonta, a lot of people thought he was going to just commit to Alabama right off the bat. And we kept wondering when it was going to happen. Just never did. And went through the entire spring, through the entire summer. There were some rumors that he was going to commit right before his senior season. Decided to push it off, and then just kind of went through the entire recruiting process. Went through official visits. Remember him going to Alabama, Florida State, LSU. But there was always this confidence that he was going to go to Alabama. All the way up until signing day. And, we'll always talk about this 2017 wide receiver class, with Smitty, Henry Ruggs, Jerry Jeudy, one of the best wide receiver classes of all time, not only for the University of Alabama, but obviously throughout the entire country. But he ends up committing to Alabama. Burton Burns, who's now the New York Giants running backs coach, was such an instrumental part of Alabama's recruiting efforts in the state of Louisiana. Pretty much since Coach Saban arrived in Tuscaloosa from 2007 all the way until Coach Burns' last year in Tuscaloosa. But I think Coach Burns did an excellent job recruiting him from start to finish. Sam Petito, obviously having that connection there was a big plus. But Alabama just the way that they're really kind of considered wide receiver now. I mean, it didn't just start with Smitty and Ruggs and Jeudy. I mean, with Calvin Ridley and Amari Cooper and Julio Jones, those guys really kind of opened up the door, for Alabama, for elite receivers to come to the university. So you got to give a lot of credit to those guys for coming to Tuscaloosa, when it wasn't a popular pick, when it was more popular to go somewhere else as a wide receiver. Julio ends up, opening, the door for others to, have success. And obviously the offenses are a little bit different than what we were used to in Tuscaloosa for a long time. And, it's this high octane offense. It's, really fun to watch. And, they love to get the ball to the playmakers. But, Smitty's had an unbelievable career. Nobody will ever forget his catch against Georgia in that national championship game to win it. That catch against LSU, back earlier this season, and obviously his performance, every single game is just it's just awesome. So it's going to be fun to watch and see what happens tonight. But I think Smitty's got obviously a great chance to win it. He's the betting favorite in Vegas, and obviously we all predict him to win it tonight as well. So it's going to be very interesting. And hey, guess what? I've been covering Alabama football recruiting for 18 years now, and before I started covering recruiting, Alabama had never had a Heisman Trophy winner, and they got an opportunity to to finish with or not finish, but to have 3 Heisman Trophy winners, potentially in the next few minutes here.
Well, we'll find out, Bone. Before we say farewell to you tonight, your prediction.
Well, I think it's going to be Smitty. I mean, I really do. I have a feeling it's going to be him. He's the best player in college football. I am disappointed that Najee is not there. I think Najee is one of the top 3 players in the country. I guess they had to give some other teams some players, but and obviously those guys are deserving as well. But I felt like Najee should be there, and he had an unbelievable career, and obviously he's performing pretty well in these in the playoff and the SEC championship.
Well, Bone, I'll tell you what, it's a pretty good class. And, I mean, you talk about, the guys who have won the Heisman over the last, couple of years. Joe Burrow at LSU, Kyler Murray at Oklahoma, going back Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson. It's been a long time since a receiver has won. But Burrow and Kyler Murray, I mean, Smitty belong in that same category, in that same class?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the best receivers to ever play college football. I think he'll be, I think there's a good chance we'll probably see him in the College Football Hall of Fame one day. So, yeah, absolutely.
All right. Thanks, Bone. Great to see you tonight.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
He's the recruiting guru for Bama Insider. Guys, as you watch, all of you out there, all 1,500 of you, we appreciate you being here right now. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and come back and hang out with us. We got plenty of shows that air throughout the week. And then check out BamaInsider.com. Andrew Bone, you just heard from him. He's our recruiting expert. He's been following these guys, Kyle, for a long, long time. I see the look on your face right now as ESPN starts to highlight Mack Jones, and you're kind of getting excited. You're getting a little bit giddy right now over the process.
It's always fun to just sit back and just listen to Bone, because he's just like an encyclopedia of Alabama football. I mean, the knowledge, right? If we could just download his brain to a chip and just insert it. I mean, because it's like page after page, year after year. I love hearing from him right now. As soon as they bring the Heisman and as soon as they announce it, we'll bring it right here on BamaInsider.com. Thank you to everybody who's watching tonight. We really appreciate it. I even have some fans across the pond in England watching tonight. So roll tide across the pond there. 1,400 online right now. We should have 1,400 thumbs up. I think when you look at kind of the past Heisman Trophy winners, what really stands out to me, okay, is the fact that Alabama's had, Derrick Henry 2015, the season that he produced. 2014, Amari Cooper, he had 124 receptions. I kind of compare that to Devonte Smith's 105. He was a finalist. A.J. McCarron in 2013, Trent Richardson, a finalist in 2011, and then Mark Ingram in 2009. You have to go all the way back to the last time, to 1991, to the last time a wide receiver won the award, which is incredible. I mean, Desmond Howard, look, he's got the pose, right? Hey, Bill, thank you so much. We appreciate it. My goodness. Thank you for the super chat. We appreciate that.
Throwing you a shout out there, too.
Yeah, no doubt. And look at this. We got someone from the Philippines. Wow. So we're worldwide.
Yeah.
But I was saying, I mean, you look to 1991, that was the last time a wide receiver won the Heisman Trophy Award. And there's been some incredible wide receivers to go through college football. Every single year, there's a wide receiver that turns heads. I mean, just look at Alabama. Their wide receiver, right? I mean, you could go just the past couple of years, 2 first-round picks last year, Henry Ruggs, Jerry Jeudy. You guys all saw that touchdown that Jerry Jeudy scored the other night. And now this guy, Devonte Smith, Julio Jones, Amari Cooper, Calvin Ridley. But Devonte Smith, I mean, the guy is up for the Heisman Trophy Award, and it's just really incredible to see from 1991 to 2021, the amount of time that's gone by, and Devonte Smith's up for that award. I have a feeling he's going to bring it home here in a few. We'll have to see, so stay tuned, and we'll bring that to you right here as kind of we get to the top of the hour.
Trey, why is it so hard for a receiver to win this award?
It's become a quarterback award, plain and simply. It's unfortunate, but the Heisman Trophy is defined as the greatest player in college football, but a lot of years it's the greatest quarterback in college football. If you're a wide receiver, if you're a running back, you have to do stuff that's otherworldly, exceptional, over exceptional to be considered for this award. And Devonte Smith has had that kind of year. I mean, this dude has done stuff that, we didn't think a receiver could do in such a shortened season and has earned this trophy. Will he win it? We'll find out here in a minute. But it's just kind of the reality of the trophy nowadays. If it is Mack Jones or Kyle Trask or Trevor Lawrence, all three are deserving. But I think that says a lot about really where this trophy is and how difficult it's become to win if you're not a quarterback. The last time Alabama, the only two times Alabama had Heisman winners, it's been non-quarterbacks. So this would be, a little bit ironic to have a third here that isn't a quarterback, considering how quarterback heavy it is. But just to even come to New York, to virtual New York this year, to be considered to be a finalist as a wide receiver is unthinkable. Maybe Desmond Howard sold his a little bit with the pose. I'd love to see Devonte Smith do one there in the title game if you were to win this. But just to get to this stage is unbelievable as a wide receiver, and Devonte Smith has earned it.
His nickname is the Slim Reaper. I don't know if he smiled. I mean, he's always business since he caught that game-winning pass to beat Georgia in the national championship game. And it's like he's the Slim Reaper of Georgia. I mean, the guy that was going to go play for the Dogs, and they let him get away. And, I mean, every time Alabama plays Georgia, it seems like he has an enormous game, and that was the case again this year. All business with Devonte Smith, Kyle, all business all the time.
Yeah, the Slim Reaper is pretty stoic. It kind of reminds me almost of Jalen Hurts. Remember how stoic Jalen Hurts was? Like, you would ask him this question, and maybe more. Jalen Hurts was more stoic. He was just like real calm and collective. Whereas, Smitty's just like, you ask him for an opening comment. I'd be curious right here because we have. So after this presentation, I'm going to bring Devonte Smith's interview right here to our YouTube channel. So be sure and stick around for that. They'll ask him, for example, what's your opening kind of comment? He's like, no opening comment, questions. He kind of just dive right into it. He's just all business. And when you ask him about the team, he always reflects, or you ask him about himself, rather, he always reflects back on the team, right? Without team success, you don't have individual success. The guy is a gamer, and I love to say, he has that Mamba mentality, the guy who wants the ball in critical situations. I love the quote at the beginning of the season when Mack Jones was talking about, he just looks at Devonte Smith, and his eyes just tell him, look, get me the football. And everything that he's done from the beginning of the season to the end of the season, throughout the course of his career at Alabama, has been incredible. This young man has stayed after practice every single day and catches over 100 footballs. This guy's, people told him, we saw an interview recently. A lot of people told him, you're never going to play at the college level. You're never going to be able to play at Alabama. The guy didn't listen to any of that. He just kept on believing in himself. And here he is today, in my opinion, just a few minutes away from winning the Heisman. And as soon as they announce it, we'll bring that right to you. We're kind of waiting on ESPN. So as soon as they bring that, we'll bring it right back here on Bama Insider.
Well, the good thing is that you feel like Alabama is going to have the Heisman Trophy winner, but the bad thing is someone's going to come in second, and that's happened before. 2011, Trent Richardson was a finalist for Alabama and for the Heisman as well. 2013, A.J. McCarron was a finalist. 2014, Amari Cooper. Tua was a finalist a few years ago. So that's kind of the bad part of this too, is that someone's not going to win.
Yeah, we talk about Bama fatigue all the time on Bama Insider throughout the season. If this year hasn't, put Bama fatigue right back where it was, I don't know what could. You got three guys that are equally deserving of the Heisman. One guy has separated himself a bit, of course, with Devonte Smith, but somebody is going to have to lose this award, and that's so unfortunate because Mack Jones has had, a season that none of us expected. Even for the people that thought he was the deserving starter, I don't think anybody would have told you that he was going to go out and do what he's done this season. And, you do wonder that question, how much of what Devonte Smith has been able to do is a product of Mack Jones and vice versa. But it's really sad. And thankfully, I think that they don't really care. Mack Jones would love to win this award. It's probably going to hurt a little bit for just a second that he won't win it tonight. But at the end of the day, his teammate's going to win it. And he's competing for a national championship. That's the first thing on his mind. And for Najee Harris as well, he's having to sit home and watch these finalists here when he believes that he should probably be a finalist as well. But other than maybe just a second to collect himself, I don't think this is going to hurt too bad for Mack Jones if he doesn't win the award, because he's about to play for a national title with a kid that is probably about to win the award. So, good team spirit all the way around either way. But, somebody is going to have to lose it. And that's sad because Mack Jones has had the season of a lifetime.
Someone is going to get invited into the Heisman house, so we'll see them on commercials. All right, look, final thoughts going into this, because ESPN's had a commercial. When they come back, they're going to announce the winner of this year's Heisman. I'll start with you, Trey.
Man, this is, just to get here, like Tony said at the top of the show, just to get here is an unbelievable feeling with everything that's happened. To see two Alabama guys right here in the mix is just a great feeling. This team has been, methodical, dedicated. They've been dominant and unbeatable throughout the season. It's because of these two guys that are up for the award right here. The things that they've been able to do with everything going on, tuning out the distractions, tuning out what people want to say about, the schedule or who they ended up playing from the East or this or that or whatever, and everything else with COVID and cancellations, delays. These two put their head down and they dominated with the rest of their team. That's why they're here. I think either way, you're going to be happy if you're an Alabama fan. If it's Mack Jones, you might feel a little upset for Devonte Smith and the other way around as well. But, I would be just stunned if it wasn't one of the two coming up here in just a couple minutes. But like I've said all week and like we had in the article this morning, I believe it's going to be Devonte Smith. And there's not a single player in the country that deserves it more than that young man.
All right, everyone in the comments section, just put down the name of the person that you think is going to win. All of you watching, whether you're watching live with us or you're watching the replay, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, Bama Insider. We're the Alabama Rivals site. We're hanging out with you. This is our Heisman Watch Party. Kyle, your final thoughts.
First of all, what a fantastic year to, Mack Jones and Devonte Smith. These guys, at the beginning of the season, we knew that these guys were going to be here. We knew that Alabama was going to be, the team that they are. The season and the gauntlet that they've gone through from the SEC only schedule to beating Notre Dame in the playoffs, it's been a big testament to everything that these players have been through. And now to see them at this stage is, number one, incredible, because it's not every year you get to cover Heisman trophies. It's not every year you get to cover perfection. These guys work at their craft. These guys are the best athletes in the world, arguably. What these guys are putting their self through every single week to stay dialed in, to stay focused, to avoid the rat poison, to see Mack Jones and Devonte Smith just minutes away from being, the Heisman Trophy winner is quite the honor, honestly, to cover. And I've enjoyed it every step of the way. The news doesn't stop here on Alabama football, and I love it. covering the best college football athletes every single day is quite the honor. So in just a second, we'll find out who the Heisman Trophy winner is. I'm feeling it's a slim reaper. So here we go.
Oh,
I'm
man.
nervous.
Yeah, it's exciting right now. My final thoughts are this. I remember being at Alabama when Gene Stallings was head coach, and Alabama was a premier program, and I watched the athletic department pretty much destroy it and turn Alabama into Tennessee, where the people that didn't know football got too involved, and the next thing you know, Alabama didn't have any awards and they didn't win any games. And then for a decade, it was miserable. And I know that some of you out there watching remember those days. And then Mal Moore flew down to Miami, and he brought back a Dolphins head coach that had some college football experience. And from that day on, it's been a different program. And I feel like the fans, you guys and us, have also been a big part of it. 92,000 that showed up at that 8A game, Saban's first time, and then the momentum that came from recruiting. And Alabama had never won a Heisman. Andrew Bone brought that up as well, as a lifetime Alabama fan, not just a recruiting expert. He remembers it was always Notre Dame and Michigan and Ohio State and Florida that won these awards. But that all changed when Mark Ingram won in 2009. I remember how special that was to see an Alabama player, somewhere deep in my heart. It just felt special to have another fellow alumnus win this prestigious football award. And then since then, Alabama has won, and they've been in the mix to win, just like the football team on the field, off the field. So this year is really special. Mack Jones, I would have voted for him. I said that before. His perseverance off the field and his leadership on the field kind of won me over. And I wasn't a big fan of his. And I'll tell you what, I've absolutely wrong. The guy's got a great future ahead of him, and he couldn't have done a better job. But Devonte Smith has the signature moment. I mean, he caught a touchdown pass to win a national championship game, walk-off style. Never happened before, and who knows if it'll ever happen again. But it was electric. It was against a team that he was going to go to that would have had him, and that's the biggest moment in the history of that national championship game. So I'm expecting him to win, and I guess this is right now, Kyle, the moment of truth.
Yeah, this is the moment of truth. We're waiting right here to see who the winner is. So as soon as they post it, here it is, and momentarily. And I'm on a slight delay, so you guys, post it in the comment box if you see it before. But let's see who the winner is. I mean, I'm nervous. I got to actually break out right after this to the interview with the Heisman Trophy winner. So I'm like trying to be all over the place, and here we go. So, I mean, just like you said, Mick, it's been an incredible ride this year. I think all the crazy things that went wrong in 2020, nothing, this Alabama team continued to steer clear of those pitfalls, the rat poison, and here they are, just one game from the perfect season. So it's happening as we know it. So here is the Heisman Trophy finalists, and the winner is, let's see.
We're waiting.
We're waiting.
Every time they throw up that graphic.
Please, no commercials. We got to go. We got to do this.
They're killing us right now.
Suspense.
The suspense.
You look at the four guys, and who's it going to be? Trevor Lawrence is that dark horse. He's a guy that could do this.
Here we go.
The moment of truth.
The moment of truth is now.
As you guys hang out with us, thumbs up, subscribe to our channel. I'm on a slight delay too. I see the envelope coming in, and I guess the announcement's being made right now. And
someone
is immortalized. When you win this award, you're never forgotten. They talk about you for the rest of your life, and one of these guys will be remembered forever. And we know that the winner of this award is a guy that has an excellent nickname. He is a guy that's known as the Slim Reaper. He caught a game-winning touchdown pass. Devonte Smith is the 2020 Heisman Trophy winner. Roll Tide. I got to tell you, Kyle, I remember being on one of our shows after the Auburn game, and there was a play that he made where he was blocking, and then it was a little short pass, and he caught the ball and ran like 70 yards. And I said, okay, maybe we're talking about Mack, but we should be talking about Devonte Smith. Do you remember that conversation? Yep. It was that moment where I thought, okay, and then the next week he had the game against LSU where he had the Heisman moment where he skied, he high pointed the football and caught it in the end zone for a touchdown. LSU had beaten Alabama the year before. They had a perfect season. They had Joe Burrow, the Heisman Trophy winner. They went undefeated. They had this amazing offense. Kyle, I know you have things to do. Trey and I will kind of wrap things up.
Thank you, fam. We got Devonte Smith, your Heisman Trophy winner. Mick and Trey, they're going to take it home for you guys. I'm going to work on that interview, and I'll be back on Bama Insider. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Mick and Trey will close out. I'm out.
All right, there goes Kyle. And don't forget, all the post-game interviews that you want to see, and I say post-game, how about post-Heisman Award stuff? It's going to be on there. On the Bama Insider YouTube channel. I'm elated right now. This is the third time Alabama's had a Heisman Trophy winner. This is the first time, Trey, that we've had a receiver win this award in a long, long, long time. I mean, you're talking about since 1991 when Desmond Howard did it for Michigan. But this is the year.
Yeah, and this was a long time coming for the game of college football, if nothing else. The Heisman Trophy is the most prestigious award in sports, in my opinion. I think it beats any kind of MVP at the pro level, or any other college award. The Heisman Trophy is something you think about all year long. You have it in the back of your head the entire season. You start making your projections early on. And for Devonte Smith, it was consistency. I don't think anybody was thinking right away, this is necessarily your Heisman winner. This is going to be the guy that does it. But once we got down the stretch, once Jalen Waddle had to miss time and it really became, a one-man band in that receiving core, John Mechie played a great role as well. But once Devonte Smith was really able to take over, it became clear this kid has done everything right on and off the field. The way he carries himself, the things he's able to do with the footwork, the deep ball adjustments, everything else, is just so unbelievable. And you look at the numbers, you look at some of the plays he's made, you look at some of the things he's done, even the stuff that's, not with the football, the way he's blocked this year at times. You look back to that SEC title game against Florida, John Mechie delivers the hit. Devonte Smith is right there to fall on the fumble. Very next play scores the long touchdown. So this kid deserved it for so many different reasons. You got to feel bad for Mack Jones because he had a Heisman caliber season, did everything it took. Same with Najee Harris. These two guys both. The other finalists as well, Trevor Lawrence, Kyle Trask, and Kyle Pitts, all had unbelievable seasons that might have won the Heisman in, any given year. But this season, there was no denying it's Devonte Smith's trophy. And how relieving is it now that he has brought it home. And keep in mind, Mick, every time Alabama has won this trophy, these last two, they have brought home the national title that season. So, maybe good things ahead this Monday. This could be some foreshadowing here.
Yeah, really. I love all the chats. James Mitchell, we appreciate the super chat. He said that he's a Bama fan born in 71, seen the ups and downs, and now let's see these trophies. Look, this has been an unprecedented time of success for Alabama. Devonte Smith winning the Heisman, and really not a favorite. I mean, it really wasn't on anyone's board at the beginning of the season. If you would have said Devonte Smith, the Heisman at the beginning of the season, I don't think anyone would have believed you. But when Jalen Waddle was injured against Tennessee, Alabama needed someone to step up and be the number one target, and that was him. And he was always the fourth guy in my mind on that receiver core, even with the catch that beat Georgia for the national championship. Ruggs, Judy, Waddle, and then Smitty. But you know what? All that changes tonight. He's going to be the guy of those four horsemen, if you will, to go down in history as a Heisman Trophy winner. They all had the talent to do it, but Devonte Smith is the winner tonight, Trey.
Yeah, this is just so deserving. Like I've said the entire hour, this is a kid that carries himself so well, and I think that's kind of why you have that idea in your head. As an Alabama fan, looking back on last season, you thought about him, you saw him, you saw him making incredible plays, but it was always Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs first. And, that's just because this dude is so humble. The way he carries himself, he's not as flashy. He's not as in your face about it. But the job that he gets done every single time out, the effort he gives, the dedication to the game, the knowledge of the game, it's the reason he's won this Heisman. The work that he's put in and to be able to keep these distractions, away from him during, throughout COVID, throughout this weird fall, this weird season, to go out there and do what he did all year and guide his team. Alabama fans took a huge gasp when they saw Jalen Waddle go down. It wasn't, that everything was doomed and they didn't trust in Devonte Smith, but they knew his role was going to be extremely accelerated. You take away probably your biggest threat on offense there, your most explosive threat, and he answered every single call. This kid made every play he needed to. He made clutch plays, huge third down plays, caught so many deep balls. I mean, he caught 22 of Mack Jones' 36 touchdowns on the season. There's just so many different reasons he deserved this trophy. And like I said, it's not a knock on any of the other players because they were all very deserving as well. But Devonte Smith, you're a Heisman for a reason, man. Great season. It's going to be really fun to watch him take on the Ohio State Buckeyes this Monday.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about Mack Jones before we get off here. What a season he's had. He's the one that's been feeding the rock to Devonte. He's led this team. He's done so many different great things for Alabama football. He's been a leader. He's got them to the national championship game. And obviously this story won't be complete if Alabama isn't able to win this title. But he comes in behind Devonte Smith, his teammate. So it's a bittersweet pill to swallow. I mean, you're standing right next to the guy that won it. Although you love that guy and you're happy for him, I'm sure there's some disappointment there as well. But a lot of appreciation from Alabama fans for what Mack Jones has brought to the program this year.
Yeah, there's no denying what the kid's done. And the fact that he probably is a big reason Devonte Smith won this trophy. I don't know if Devonte Smith goes to Oklahoma or if he's at Penn State or wherever else, if he wins this trophy, because Mack Jones, when Devonte had 3 or 4 steps on the guy downfield, hit him every time and, allowed him to make those plays and put some balls in spots where only Devonte can make the play on. And, it's really a lot of guys on this Alabama team, too. You got to look at the offensive line and, the way they've been able to create time in the pocket for Mack Jones this season, the way they've been able to set up that passing game with, big runs, big holes that they've created for Najee Harris. So, there's so many different guys. Steve Sarkisian, for the way that he's designed this offense, the way he's designed plays for Devonte Smith, Mack Jones as well. There's a whole list of guys. I'm sure Devonte Smith just went down in his post-game speech. We weren't able to listen to it in real time. You can find that on BamaInsider.com once we get done here. But it's really unfortunate for Mack Jones, because I think if he had this season last year, maybe not last year with Joe Burrow on the table, but in most seasons, he wins the award with the numbers that he put up. And, maybe even in a regular 12-game season, especially with a healthy Jalen Waddle, things go completely differently, and it is his award. But Mack Jones is the kind of guy that's just as humble and is, I'm sure, feeling eccentric and on top of the world for Devonte Smith right now. And as maybe not bad as Devonte Smith feels that it wasn't his quarterback that won the award, I'm sure he's making very sure that Mack Jones knows how much he means to him and how much he meant to getting him this award this year.
Well, the final vote tally was just revealed, and Devonte Smith was the overwhelming winner of this award. He came in second to Trevor Lawrence. And ironically, Trevor Lawrence grew up a fan of Peyton Manning. And Peyton Manning also lost to a player that wasn't a quarterback, right? And he came in second. So, and Trevor Lawrence will be the first pick in the NFL draft, and I'm expecting that he's going to have a great NFL career. It was Mack Jones third, Kyle Trask fourth, and then Najee Harris fifth. That's how the final vote went down for this year's Heisman Award.
That's interesting, and I think that I said it during the show just a little bit ago. I think that if there wasn't two Alabama guys, Mack Jones probably finishes in first or second, obviously. But, I do think we talked about vote splitting this week. I do think that hurt Mack Jones. I think, people were deciding between one Alabama guy or the other Alabama guy, probably out of three Alabama guys, to be honest with you. They all chose Devonte Smith. Not as many guys chose Mack Jones. The way the ballot works, you put three guys down on your ballot. So, that could be a product of him maybe having a lot of second place votes or even third place votes. But, I do think the vote splitting affected Mack Jones probably the most severely out of all of these guys. And, it's credit to Trevor Lawrence as well. He had a great season, for as much as people want to take away from what Clemson did this year. And, the results, obviously, they were bullied and dominated off the field on Friday night. But, the body of work was there. And Trevor Lawrence, outside of missing the games to COVID, had a great season. And I thought that conference title game brought him back into contention for this award. But, I think any way you draw it, he just didn't have enough. He didn't get that signature win at Notre Dame. He wasn't able to play in that game. And outside of that, I don't think you look at round two as a signature win. And struggled against Boston College, struggled in some of these games, had some Heisman, throws and maybe some great moments, but he never really did enough, especially in a year where you have a guy like Devonte Smith doing what he did, and really two quarterbacks in Kyle Trask and Mack Jones that were equally deserving as well.
Well, and word is that Alabama likely to have Jalen Waddle back for the first time since the kickoff against Tennessee for the national championship game Monday against Ohio State. We talked about that earlier. And in that game, there will be a Heisman Trophy winner, the third in Alabama history, and Devonte Smith at the receiver spot. What a year it's been for Alabama. We weren't sure we were going to have football in the first place. And then the SEC, Greg Sankey, a lot of credit, tip of the cap. They took a month to just see what was going on. They wanted to kind of space out the time that the students got on campus, expecting that COVID was going to bite pretty hard at first, and then survive that wave and only play in the SEC. And the reason why was protocols. They knew that they could really mandate strict protocols with those teams in the SEC. It was the first time that we've ever had an all SEC schedule. Alabama went through that schedule like a hot knife through butter, then into the college football playoff to take on an old friend or an old rival, if you will, the two blue bloods, Alabama and Notre Dame. The Crimson Tide won that. Devonte Smith, 3 touchdowns. That didn't even factor into the Heisman vote. And that set up Alabama and Ohio State after the Buckeyes beat Clemson. And that's what we're going to have on Monday night. So Still a lot of coverage coming up here on the Bama Insider channel. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe as you watch. We appreciate you guys being here tonight for the Heisman Trophy Watch Party. Devonte Smith is the winner. On our site, we'll have reaction from Devonte Smith, Mack Jones, anything else that pops up. Kyle Henderson working feverishly to get that for you right here on the Bama Insider YouTube channel. Trey, final thoughts before we bid everyone farewell tonight.
Yeah, I want to start by saying, Mick, thank you for everything you do. It's not too often it's just, us two on here. And, we've kind of been getting worked into Bama Insider on the same schedule. And, it's been a real honor to get to work with you this past few months and throughout this season. And, just thank you for everything that you do for this program. I think you're our Heisman for Bama Insider this year. Congratulations to Devonte Smith as well. Nobody else in the country deserved this award, and it would have been a travesty if he hadn't won it. This kid is doing unbelievable things. Every day he's probably going to leave the award ceremony here, going to leave whatever facility he went to for the ceremony. He's probably going to go to the field and catch some passes or get some routes in or something like that, because that's just who he is. So congratulations to Devonte Smith, Mack Jones, Najee Harris, Kyle Trask, Trevor Lawrence, the whole field, everybody that was involved in making this possible. Bama's just got one more on the schedule, and it's going to be a fun one.
Well, I appreciate the kind words, Trey. And, before we go off, I got to tell you, football is a fun game, and you appreciate the talent that not just your team has, but some of the players on the other teams. Last year, Chase Young was just someone that blew my mind, and I've loved watching him play in Washington this year. Former Buckeye. He reminded me of a Lawrence Taylor type. He's in the backfield all the time, and this year, Trevor Lawrence, he came in second. If he wouldn't have gotten COVID, I think he could have possibly won. I mean, he has had just a tremendous career, one that will go down as maybe the greatest in quarterback history at Clemson, right, and including a national championship. But his career's over, and he'll be the number one pick in the draft. And I love the story of Kyle Trask. He was named after Kyle Field. Yeah, that's not where the Gators play. No, that's where Texas A&M plays, and then got a chance to go there. And his Florida Gators lost a shootout to the team that he grew up loving and the school stadium that he was named after. But he didn't quit. He kept on fighting. He had a big target and Kyle Pitts, and watching him play Alabama in the SEC championship game, you had to respect him. The guy was just an absolute brawler, a fighter. He just kept coming and coming. And even though they didn't win, they put up quite a performance. But the two guys for Alabama really stand out to me as far as just Alabama history. Mack Jones, we talked about it tonight. There were so many times that he could have walked away. He could have gone somewhere else. He could have transferred. He could have played at Kentucky. He probably would have been the starting quarterback a lot sooner. Who would have wanted the challenge of being behind Jalen Hurts and Tua? I mean, remember that battle? No one was talking about Mack Jones. That was one of the greatest quarterback battles in the history of Alabama. And eventually Tua won. And it started when he threw that pass to Smitty for the national championship to beat Georgia. But then the next year, how ironic was it when he went down that Jalen Hurts stuck by Alabama and helped beat Georgia for an SEC title? That was amazing, right? And then Mack Jones, always the third guy. And then when Tua went to the NFL, people like me hoped that Tua came back. Maybe, you wait another year and play. And then Tua's brother transfers to Leah. And I'm going, okay, what are we going to do here? And then Bryce Young comes in, and I'm thinking it's going to be Bryce Young. But Mack Jones came back this year, bigger, stronger. He's a smart kid, and he's a leader. And it was the right guy for the job. He had just an amazing, amazing season. It's not over yet. He's a great character guy. And he's someone that has had to deal with adversity, but it hasn't slowed him down. And you talk about all of the great players that Alabama has and the offensive line and the running back, but you still have to have that quarterback to lead the way. And you can't underestimate what that means for a football team to have a quarterback that can come in. And when we were talking to the guys at Notre Dame, I said the only way you can lose it, that Alabama can lose this game, is if Mack Jones goes down, because there's no one else that can replace him. There's no other Mack Jones on the field. and on this team. The crazy thing for Alabama is they had 2 first-round pick receivers on the roster. One of them went down in Jalen Hurts. Jalen Waddle, the other Jalen. And you wondered, okay, what's going to happen with this football team? You know, last year they lost 2 first-round pick receivers, and now they're down to one guy. But that one guy was Devonte Smith, and throughout the course of the season, whatever Alabama's needed him to do, he's done that and much more. Returning kicks, including taking one to the house against Arkansas, making incredible catches, making short catches, scoring touchdowns, getting open, getting other guys open, being a great teammate, team leader, and someone who is focused on the ultimate goal, and that's winning a national championship. And as far as Alabama goes, Devonte Smith, the 3rd Heisman Trophy winner in the history of this absolutely brilliant program, prestigious program that has national championships that go all the way back to the 1920s. That college football history has really been made with this team, the first team from the South to really prove themselves. And it took all those years to get one, and now Alabama has their 3rd, and it's a receiver in Devonte Smith. So, Trey, it's been fun hanging out with you. And for Kyle and Andrew Bone, I'm Mick Gillespie. I appreciate all of you that have hung out with us tonight. And again, I implore you to hit the thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, read our material. Go to BamaInsider.com and become a member there and hang out with us more often. One more time, Devonte Smith is the 2020 Heisman Trophy winner. Roll Tide, everybody. Thanks for watching.